I had to take a break. Last video got really heavy for me. As you can see, I'm back with my ears on. Again, the ears are not to take away from the seriousness of this video. It's just the ears make me feel better, make me feel like I'm in a safe place. If you see the title of this video, this is what I'm talking about. Just to let you know, these videos do include sexual assault, rape, pedophilia. And so if you are triggered by any of those things, please feel free to skip and not listen to the whole video. We definitely want to create healthy and safe spaces. I just want to put a disclaimer out here. This is in no way to offend my family members or friends that helped me during this time when I was growing up and that are still very close to me now. This is my truth and my story, and I am sharing it, and I am not apologizing for it, okay? To my family, I just want to let you know I definitely love you. There is no resentment or hate here. You did the best you could with what you could. And let's get into the rest of the story. So, as I was talking earlier, I was talking about basically how I reacted when I went to school. When I went to school during the years of my molestation and sexual assaults, I used to, you know, come up with lies and stories to make my life seem more elaborate than it really was, because honestly and truthfully, I really didn't realize that I was poor till I started going to those schools. I really didn't realize how bad my house was, how, you know, it just wasn't up to par. I didn't notice all those things till I started getting picked on in school. I thought my life was normal until I started going to school. And because, you know, I felt like at that time, I felt like my dad didn't come to my defense how I thought he should have. I felt like I had no other choice but to lie and, you know, put on this face like everything was okay, when at home it really wasn't. The only real friend I had at that time, again, was the young boy who was born a year after me. We grew up and were really close friends. I think during those times he could tell that I wasn't myself anymore. My innocence was snatched from me at a very young age, and I just didn't know how to cope with it. I was just trying to do the best I could, and the best I thought I could do was to lie to everyone at school about how things were going. So you can't really put any blame on like teachers and principals during that time, because I really went to school acting like everything was okay, and I think that was just a survival mechanism for me. A lot of people don't know, with a lot of rape victims, sexual assault victims, your brain can only handle so much. So in order for you to survive, you shut off parts of your brain for you to keep moving, for you to keep surviving, which is why therapy is so important, okay? For you to deal with these deep-rooted issues that you may have. So again, to continue where I left off the last couple of videos, I kind of stopped the lying around like 10th grade, around that area, because it was really around that time where me and my best friend at the time was like, hey, we're really gonna give this Jesus thing a try. You know, we're really gonna dedicate our lives to Christ and everything's gonna be good. And I can honestly say, like, during those times, because I had something to focus on other than the pain, they were pretty good. But my life still kind of sucked at the same time, because this pastor was still making us go to church a ridiculous amount of times. We were still having 3 services on Sunday, turning around, coming back to church on Monday, and then having prayer on Wednesday, and then turning around and coming back again Friday. It was just like this church consumed so much of everybody's time, and it was because he wanted us to be consumed and brainwashed. And it just got to the point where, like, if you weren't his kids, he didn't care about what your kids wanted to do. He would literally rearrange church services sometimes so his children could go and do what they wanted to do. I remember growing up, his children were his son was a cheerleader. He rearranged church so his son could cheerlead at the games. His daughter was just his pride and joy, and so much of the church's money, my father's money, went to funding her education, because he just wanted her to be a doctor so bad. There were times growing up where we literally would be without lights. We wouldn't have anything to eat. I think what put the final nail in the coffin in regards to like my hatred towards the pastor was when my dad had lost his job, and you know, my dad was still giving him money faithfully to the church, finding ways to help the church. And my dad came to him and was like, hey, I don't have any money to feed my family. Can you help me out since I'm always helping the church? He went and bought my family a bucket of KFC chicken, looked my dad in the eye and was like, you owe me for this. Owe you for what? Like, it's a bucket of chicken. Like, you know, it wasn't until after my dad's death that I realized that it was mainly my family's money that funded that church. It was mainly our money. So we were going without food, without lights sometimes, because my dad was selflessly giving money to a church that he thought was really going to help the world, save the world, and help all these people. And the pastor was pocketing the money for his own expenses, for his own children, for his own family. We grew up in a house with no insulation, no central air, no central heat. And this pastor was over there warm, snug as a bug during the wintertime, air conditioner on blast. Like, it was just like he was living in comfort. When I remember when flat screen TVs first came out, and we had just took up offering in the church, and he got in his car and he drove to the store and he bought him a flat screen TV with the church's money, which, you know, it was just so much toxicness growing up where I was. And I think that's definitely what led to me, you know, having the issues that I had growing up. So, you know, the lying definitely stopped around me being in 10th grade. And I was really trying to give the Christ thing a try and really trying to dedicate myself to that. Especially since I couldn't get into any more trouble. I couldn't get into any more trouble. I wasn't going to walk across the stage for graduation. I wasn't going to be able to go to prom. I wasn't going to be able to do those things if I got into any more trouble. So I really settled down. And it seemed like with me settling down and really just trying to get a grasp on my life as a whole, I grasped onto hope that I was about to go off to college soon, that I was about to leave this place. Like, I was about to be gone, you know? So with that being said, at school kind of turned into like a really, you know, okay place. It still had its moments. Like, people still resented me for lying. Some people just resented my personality. They didn't like the attention that I got just naturally being myself. So they would try to do things to prove that I was a liar. At that time, it really wasn't nothing for me to lie about. Like, after 10th grade, the lying definitely completely stopped. Like, I just didn't feel the need to lie about who I was anymore, because I was coming to the grasp that I was about to leave that place. I was about to leave where I was growing up and start a whole new life and be a whole new me. So there was no need for me to hold on to that misery anymore and try to create this make-believe person who had everything together, who had the perfect life, because I was about to have a new life, you know. So I was just trying to get through those last 2 years of school. Like, I was just trying to hurry up and go to college and just find a way to get out, you know. I definitely wanted to try to do some type of, you know, physical activity, because I was like a popular loner at school. But I never really did any extracurricular activities. It was always a fight, because the pastor was always changing the schedule to where we couldn't do anything. He wanted us to be like bound. I remember there was a time in high school where we were having like an American Idol contest, and I was supposed to be a contestant, but the competition was on a Friday and the pastor wouldn't let me go. He just wouldn't let me go. And I remember telling the teacher that was over it that I couldn't go. like they weren't gonna let me go. And I remember she was so upset with me that she kind of shunned me afterwards, like, because she was always so nice to me before, but she was just kind of rude to me afterwards. I don't know if she felt like I wasted her time. In a way, I kind of did, but it wasn't my fault. Like, my parents weren't gonna let me stay to go. They weren't gonna come and pick me up. And that honestly happened to me a lot of times. I would go to extracurricular activities or swindle my way into going to extracurricular activities, and I would be the last person left at school because my parents would be scared to leave church because of this pastor, and they would just leave me sitting there until they could come and get me. So and then you know, at this point they just, you know, were tired of fighting with him, and you know, weren't gonna let me go. It wasn't until, you know, the guy that I told you that was born after me, that we got really close with each other growing up. It wasn't until he said that he wanted to do band, and he wasn't gonna be at church, and his mom definitely gave him a lot of leeway, more than my parents did, that I was like, hey, I want to do band, you know, because I like to dance. I'm really good at doing stuff, you know. And not to say that band was my first extracurricular activity. It was just really hard for me to do extracurricular activities. Like, I remember when me being on the dance team in like 10th grade, I couldn't leave to go to some basketball games until church was over. So I would get there late, which means I had to work super hard, like harder than the other girls, to learn the dance, to keep the dance going, because I couldn't be there at all the practices for the right times, or I had to hurry up and run in to the game to make sure I was in position to do the dance. Like, you know, it was just a lot of unnecessariness for me. So it wasn't until, you know, that guy said he wanted to do band that I was like, oh, I want to do band too, you know. And I remember I wrote this note to my dad, and I was like, I'm gonna do band. Like, this is my last year of high school. I'm gonna do band. I'm gonna do something that I'm good at, because I've always wanted to do it, and it's my turn, you know. And I remember my dad got so mad at me, but I told him, like, hey, you know, if you're gonna leave me up there, I'll walk home. I'll do whatever I gotta do, you know, because I want to be in band. And everything really kind of was a fight for me. And I think that's why even now, like, I'm a fighter. Like, I'm always on the defense. I always, you know, am ready to go, because I just had to do that so much. I do think that that's part of my healing, for me to get through a lot of those things. And you know, I'm working on it. I'm definitely not, you know, perfect. But I ended up doing band, and I ended up graduating, and I got to walk the stage, and, you know, go to prom, and all of those good ideas, you know. But I didn't get off the land as soon as I wanted to. I was still stuck there.